Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Afi and I am back again with another video. So if you're new to this channel, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I hope you enjoy. If you do, please remember to subscribe. Remember to give this video a thumbs up if you really enjoy it, and share it with anyone that you think will enjoy this video. And yeah, we'll just get into it. So as you can tell by the title, I'm basically just going to be going through the books that I read in 2022, a little bit of background. In 2021, I did kind of like a challenge, and I challenged myself to read 12 books in the year. And I did that. So this year I decided to do 20 books. So I'm just kind of like trying to go a step upwards a little bit. Yeah, so that's basically where we're at right now. Just a bit of background again. I kind of grew up reading. My mom always bought me books and I loved reading. And so and then I went into high school, kind of fell off, loved reading set books, but fell off reading anything else. And then going into uni, I kind of rekindled that love for reading. And so now I'm kind of just really enjoying, reading books and going through challenges, and getting to like 20 books this year was great. So I'm going to start with the first book that I read this year. Okay, so the first book was All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. This book was actually so beautiful. Honestly speaking, I'm a very like romance type of gal, so you're going to see a lot of like romance books because I just really love the story. They're very cute. A lot of them are really cute. Some are a little bit dirty and like a little bit more risque, which I don't really enjoy. But sometimes you just don't know when you start reading, and then you get into it and you're like, this is way too much. Then you're just like, let's follow through. Anyway, All Your Perfect was just, it was a very beautiful love story about people who kind of had an issue and found their way back to each other. And that's all I'm going to say without spoiling. 100% if you like romance, if you like cute stories. Colleen Hoover is also very good at taking like real life problems and then kind of making them into fiction, and but still like portraying the story and telling you the truth, and you're feeling all the emotions and stuff like that. So that book was very good at that. Second book I read was It Ends With Us. This is also an ebook that I read. So good. Oh my gosh, everybody's talking about It Ends With Us right now. And a few weeks ago, It Starts With Us, which is kind of like a sequel of It Ends With Us, just came out. So I'm just like, that's one of the books I want to read. But It Ends With Us is the second book that I read, which was so good, honestly. Very heavy. I'm gonna say that it's very heavy, but it's also very well portrayed, and it puts you in a situation to understand the characters, and I guess in a way also understand real life people that go through those kinds of situations. So that was really nice. The third book I read was Beyond Expectations, From Charcoal to Gold. This was an autobiography by Jenga Karume, who is, I think, one of like Kenya's biggest businessmen, I guess. I don't know. I'd never heard of him before I saw this book, and I kind of just felt like, oh, let me read this. It was a very good book on like history, even Kenyan history. I think that's what I appreciated from it the most, and I wanted to read a lot more autobiographies from Kenyans, which I did manage to do, so hopefully next year. But yeah, that's the other book that I read. It's so good, honestly, like highly recommend it, to be fair. Okay, next book I read was Reminders of Him. I don't actually remember Reminders of Him. Like, I keep looking at the title and I'm like, I don't know if I remember this book. And I read it and I looked at the blurb, and I'm just like, I don't have memories of this book. So I don't know if like I read it in my sleep, or it was just like, I don't know, maybe it didn't like leave a mark or something. I don't know. So that sucks. The next book I read was The Love Hypothesis. I loved The Love Hypothesis. This was a fun book, honestly. I just found it so fun. And yeah, getting to the end was nice. It was like a fun journey. I don't think I've said this before, but for me, it's all about the journey. So I like in between the movie. I like in between the book. The ending, not so much, but this was a nice ending. This was a nice in between. It was kind of up and down, but it was really nice, and I feel like it kind of portrayed like real life in relationships, so I kind of really appreciated that. The next book I read was Justice for Some. This was very much outside my comfort zone, so this was the first time I kind of decided to buy a book that was not where I was used to. And for this, I bought it from Half Price Books, and I'm trying not to give spoilers, but it was very like mystery thriller. There was a little bit of love thrown in there. Not necessarily love as much as attraction, which is actually really interesting. And I think that's one of the things that like made me think, okay, maybe let me step out of my comfort zone, which is very much like autobiographies and romantic books. and I went into this, which is so good, highly recommend it. Justice for some. The next book I read was Cordina's Royal Family, and this was about Gabriela and Alexander. This is a Nora Roberts book. I don't think I've said this before, but Nora Roberts is one of my favorite authors. I started reading books by Nora Roberts when I was like 12 or 13, something like that, and there used to be an offer, 3 books for 1,000 bob, and I would always beg my mom to buy these books because I loved them. I loved the stories. I just really liked how they were told. They were like romance, you guys. I'm a romance kind of gal, you know. And it was so nice. It was always, the story is always enemies to lovers. That's always the story. But it's always different. So the enemies are different. They hate each other in a different way. They have different professions and all these things, but it's honestly always enemies to lovers. And this was no different. Absolutely loved it. Not sure if I recommend it, but it was nice. Alright, the next book I read was The Perfect Kazula Wife. This was okay. Like, I think I even give it like a 2-star rating. It was fine. It was very like sexual. Not a very big fan, to be fair. I bought it on the street, honestly. It was like one of those pocket novels. I think I have it though. But yeah, it's like a pocket novel. It was like 100 bob. It was okay. I kind of bought it so that I can have something in my bag to read when, you know, I'm just like sitting in the matatu or something like that, because at the time I hadn't bought any other books and I kind of was not in the mood to start looking for books and stuff like that. So I was just kind of like, okay, let me buy a simple thing to put in my bag, and that's what I did. It was okay, nothing much to say. The other book that I read was Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, again, you know, making an appearance. I really love this song. I really love this book. Ugly Love was such a beautiful story. I feel like it was one of the things where I didn't understand what ugly love meant. I think that's one of the things that I was thinking about when I was like reading. I didn't understand what it meant. But then by the end of the book, you have an idea of what they mean by ugly love. And in a way, it's very beautiful to just like have that ugly love. I don't know. So anyway, you have to read the book to kind of find out what I'm talking about. But I loved it. It was the best thing in the whole world. I loved the story. Like, I really loved the story. Okay, next book I did was How to Be an Adult in Relationships. How to Be an Adult in Relationships is, I think it's more like self-help. And I was reading it in like a much support community, and we kind of were going through each chapter, and I started it in September last year. I started and then finished it in like March this year. I just kind of like powered through for most of the beginning of the year because I was just trying to get it done. It was so difficult to wrap my head around, honestly. It was such a good book. There were such good lessons. Like, it was really good, but I think it needs time. Like, you need to kind of have time to take it in and like digest and stuff like that. I'm not very patient, not very good at that, and so I feel like I didn't benefit the most from it like the way I should have. So I'm gonna give it another try maybe next year. I don't know, we'll see. But there's so many books in the world for me to be repeating books, you know. Anyway, it's fine. Next book that I read was Accidental Tryst. This was another romantic book. Oh my gosh, I love this one. This was a beautiful story, actually. I really liked it. Of course, enemies to lovers type thing, but I think the thing that was most interesting is just how the relationship developed, which is not normal. That's all I'm gonna say. Not a normal development of a relationship. Absolutely loved it. Highly recommend. Next book I read was the beginning of a series called, I think it was called the Wolf series or something like that, and the first book was called Tempt Me, which was really nice. It was very like it was very sexual as well, so I didn't really enjoy it. I enjoyed the story. Like, I enjoyed seeing the man and the woman, kind of like the development of that, but I didn't like all the other stuff, so I actually gave it like 3-star rating or something. Didn't really like it that much, and then I kind of took a break from that series after that first book, as it left us on a cliffhanger, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to know what's happening next. But I couldn't get past like the sexual stuff, so I just gave that a break. Next book I read was Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. Guys, you know, first of all, someone called me out one time when I went for an exhibition. They were like, you read books and you haven't read Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart. There's something wrong with you. You need to read that book. And I was like, okay, fine. I'm gonna try. Right? That's basically what I said. I was just like, okay, I'll try. And I bought this book, I think 3 years ago or something like that. never read it. Like, I just tried, first page, always struggled, just left it. This year, I finally managed to finish it. I was completely emotionally wrecked. I feel like I have to explain. Whenever I read like African books, it's very heavy for me. I just find them so weighty. And so the fact that I managed to get through this one, a whole miracle. But I loved it. I loved the ending. Looking forward to reading the rest of the books. Maybe next year. Those are going to be on my list. Maybe one. I'll read one more. That kind of thing. I'm also not going to overload myself because I don't want to get into like a sad spiral because of that. So yes, I did Things Fall Apart. Very, very proud of myself about that. Next, Verity by Colleen Hoover. Verity. This book, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say about it. I just remember reading it and not being able to breathe. I literally could not breathe. Like, the amount of drama that was in this book, I don't even know. I think I was actually listening to it as an audiobook. And when I tell you, I was stressed by the end of this book. Like, the ending did not do me any justice. Like, I was just kind of like, "Ugh, this is giving me a headache." So I loved the book, highly recommend it. Just know, like, you're in for a ride and it's just never going to end. That's it. Next book I read was Sex, Lies, and Online Dating by Rachel Gibson. And I think this was an okay book. It was nice, actually, no. It was actually a really nice book, but I need to find out what it was about. Hold on. Oh yeah, I remember this. I think it was an interesting story, especially how it developed. And I don't think this is the one that was given in like the man's perspective, but it kind of felt like we were getting the guy's perspective as well. So many books that we read seem like they're from the woman's perspective, or rather, like, because I'm a woman, I read them very much like a woman, and so I feel like it's written for me by me type thing. Whereas this one, I think, kind of gave us even the male perspective a little bit, not so much, but it was good. I liked it. So yeah. And then the next book I read was Pretty Thing. This was also another romantic book. I know that for sure. Yeah, and this was kind of heartbreaking. It was an interesting journey, to be honest, like coming from the beginning of it to the end of it. I think it was one of those nice books that kind of portray misunderstood stuff, miscommunications, stuff that's just like, left unsaid, and all these things. It was really nice, actually. I liked it. 4-star rating. Next book, I continued the Wolf series, so I read Break Me, Teach Me, and Surrender to Me, which were kind of like the books that I finished the year with. That I finished the challenge with, basically. It was nice. It was nice to read these books. The story ended nicely. I like the way it ended. I like the journey in between. I like the 3 books that followed. The first book was way too sexual, honestly, and then the last 3 books were it was not that much. And I see that sometimes with other things, where it's like the first book or like the first movie is very like intense, and then the second and third one and fourth one not that deep, which I don't like that, because I think maybe they kind of use that like sexualization to get people hooked, which is not a good thing. But here we are. I got hooked. I finished reading. It was nice. That's about it. Oh, one more book that I didn't add here, actually, and I keep looking for it. It's like that was the part that wasn't making sense to me. But I read this book called The Baby Contract, and I bought this, I think, in an online shop on IG for like 50 or something, and that's the one book that I hadn't added to my list. But it was called The Baby Contract. It was it's romance, of course, and I feel like when you hear the name, you already know what that book was about. It was kind of nice, actually. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Nothing like too extra. Like, I don't think it was anything that I'd be like, oh my gosh, 100% you have to watch this or else your life is over. But it was nice. It was a nice book. So yeah, I guess that's basically it. Also, I just want to say, if you want to know like a more up to date, like what I'm reading currently type thing, follow my Instagram. I'm gonna leave it up here. I kind of post that constantly, so I post a lot of like the books that I'm reading. I have a highlight as well called books, and you kind of see all the books that I've been going through. And I think maybe I'll do like a books 2022 and then a books 2023 and that kind of thing. Then we'll see how long that goes. I don't know how many I can do, but I think that's going to be a fun highlight to kind of have, just in case you want to check that out. And yeah, so another thing that I want to talk about when it comes to books is I decided to do a 5-week challenge just to kind of like end the year. And because I read so many like romantic books, I was kind of trying to get away from that romantic thing. I don't know how to don't know what to say, but yeah, I was kind of trying to get away from that. And so I'm just going to show you sneak peek, or rather, you're the first people to see the books that I'm going to be reading for the next 5 weeks. And So here they are. So the first week actually began this week, 22nd or 23rd, I think it was 23rd. 23rd of October is when the first week began, and it's going up until November, I think the end of November. So the first book that I'm reading is this one, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I don't know if you can read it, but that's what this book is, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and I'm very excited. I already started it actually. Today is Wednesday. I'm like almost done with the book, to be fair. I'm really hoping I can finish, but that's the first book. I will talk about that in a later video. I'm really enjoying it. The next book I will read is this, The Silver Star by Jeanette Walls. It's the next book that I'm going to read. That's fiction, so and it seems very different from what I usually read, so I'm very excited to get into that. The next book I will read is The Four Disciplines of Execution. That's the next one that I'm going to finish, because, you know, and I'm not even almost halfway through, so that's the next one. And then the next book I will do, so the fourth book will be this, The Lovely Bones. I bought it a few months ago, to be honest, and I started it, and then I don't even know where I got to. Someone lost my bookmark, so I think I'm just going to start it again and, you know, get it done. That's the fourth book. And the fifth book I'm going to do is Outliers, Story of Success. I don't know if you guys know this book. If you don't, I hear it's very, very good. Honestly, people have been recommending it to me the whole year, so I'm excited to kind of like end the year with it. And after these 5 books, that's going to be it for me for the rest of this year, 2022, and then I'll go into thinking about books for 2023 and just kind of like figuring that out. So I came up with a rough plan for how I'm going to read my books in 2023, and so I'm adding this to the video so that I'm accountable to this, you know. So the first thing I'm going to do is read some business books. So I decided that I'm going to do 2 business books. This year I think I've only read 1. This Four Disciplines of Execution is going to be my 1 book that I will have read. So next year I'm going to try and do 2 books, at least like 1 at the beginning, 1 at the end of the year, you know, whatever. And then I'm going to try and do 2 self-help books. I've done a couple this year though, because I've done this Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, and yeah. And then I guess maybe Outliers also, you know, it like is considered a self-help. So I'm going to try and just do, and then I did also the relationship one, which was okay, but I'm going to still try and do just like 2 to 3. That's it. I don't want to overdo it, because sometimes you just don't want to grow, you know, just want to take a chill pill from the growth. So we'll see how I'm feeling, but I'm trying to do at least 2. And then for the romance section, I'm going to try and do like 15 books. I think this year I did 15, and so I'm going to try and do 15 again the next year. Just kind of like keep up that momentum. And I also want to be a lot more like I really want to search through the books that I'm reading, because I don't want to get into too like erotic content. That's one of the things that's been very difficult, especially this year. It was just like you end up in a book, it's like really, really bad. You're just like, oh, this is all just sexual stuff, which I just was not. I'm not sure about that. Okay, I feel very convicted by God not to be like getting into that, because it can be really dangerous. And so I'm kind of trying to also, I'm going to try and be very like vet the books that I'm trying to get into. And if I see something that's just a little bit more sexual than I'm comfortable with, then, you know, I will stop it, because I think that's the other thing where it's like authors or writers will use the sexual stuff to keep you, but there's no actual story. And there's so many books that I read this year. There's something I read this year where I was just like, this had like, it was nothing, really, it was nothing, you know. So I want to be a lot more serious about that. And then the next books I'm going to read is religious books. This year I don't know that I've even read any religious book, to be honest. Like, let me show you some of the books that I'm kind of like getting into. Yeah, no, I haven't actually read any religious books. Let's leave it at that. So this year I want to do, next year 2023 I want to do 2 religious books at least. And then Africana, the Africana section, I kind of want to do 4 books. I did 2. I did 2 this year, the Beyond Expectations autobiography, and I did Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. So I want to kind of see if I can do at least 4 books next year, so being a little bit more intentional about that. And then autobiographies, I'm going to do 2 autobiographies. This year I did 1, the Jaga Karume one, so I want to do 2. Let's just push it. I don't really read that many autobiographies, to be honest. I should have said my comfort zone is self-help and romance. So autobiographies, you know, I just read 1, so I'm going to try and do 2. And then from like other fiction books, I want to try and do 4 of those, because then this year I did 2, which was The Lovely Bones and Justice for Some. Those 2 are very outside of my comfort zone, and I enjoyed them. And I think Verity as well was kind of out of my comfort zone as well. So I'm going to try and do 4 next year. So I'm very excited about that. All that totals to 31 books, and so my reading challenge for 2023 will be 31 books, and I'm just going to be giving like updates of how much I've read, you know, how far it's going, all these things, just as I did this year. If you follow me on Instagram, then you literally have seen almost every month I was posting a book that I read, something I finished. And in the past few months I kind of would post all like 4 books that I was reading all at the same time, not all at the same time, like following each other, and then I just wouldn't post. I would post all of them at the same time. So I'm going to try and be a little bit more consistent and post like as I'm reading and as I'm finishing. So that's going to be an exciting thing. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, just give it a thumbs up. If you haven't, please subscribe. Like if you've gotten to the end, comment the love heart emoji. No, comment the books emoji, because we love to read in this space. Like, reading is life. What is life without reading? What is life without reading? Like, you know, we keep moving. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.